Our header is looking pretty good, but you'll notice that all of our content spans the entire width of the page. That's something that would be really irritating if one of our users had a very wide screen monitor. So we want to somehow figure out how we can constrain the width of all of our content and make sure that we have some additional white space on the left-hand side and right-hand side. Now this is something that is included in Semantic UI and is very easy to set up. However, the documentation again doesn't make it the easiest thing to discover. So I'm going to point us right in the correct location to find this. Back in the Semantic UI documentation, on the left-hand nav underneath the Elements section, I'll find the container component. The purpose of container is, quite simply, to limit the content inside of it to some maximum width. So this is what we can use to constrain the content in our window and make sure that someone with a widescreen monitor isn't going to see this campaign card right here span from the very left to the very right-hand side. All we have to do to use the container is import this into one of our root components and then place it directly in there and make sure it wraps all the content that we have. So it sounds to me like that is another use case for our layout.js component. Remember, we're essentially saying that this thing is going to be used on all of our different pages. So if we place that container component at some very root level inside of here, all of the content inside of our application should probably be nicely constrained inside that container. So let's try it out. At the top, I'm going to import the container component from Semantic UI React. And then rather than displaying a div in here, I'm going to replace that top level div with a container instead. So now all the real content inside of our application should always be getting constrained in width by that container element. So let's now save this and see how we're doing back in the browser. All right, so that looks much better. I'm going to zoom back out to 100%. So this is probably closer to what you see right now. I think this is looking much better than it was before. However, I am a little bit of a stickler, and I don't really like the fact that our header is really nested right up against that address bar. So just one last quick little change. I want to put in a little bit of custom styling to make sure that there's just a little bit of margin above that thing. To do so, we can add some custom CSS inside of our header component. I'm going to change back over to header.js. I'm going to find the top level menu right here, and then we're going to add in some custom styling to it. To add in custom styling, we can add a style prop, and we'll pass an object into it. Remember that whenever we are using JSX and we want to pass in an object literal, we have to place two sets of curly braces. So the first set on the outside says, hey, we're about to write a JavaScript expression here. And then the second set inside is the actual object literal that we're creating. So I really just want to place some margin top on here. So I'm going to say margin top is 10 pixels, like so. All right, so let's go back over and see how we're doing now. All right, so just a little bit of a standoff there just to make it look a little bit nicer. Well, I don't know about you, but I think this application is definitely coming along and it looks pretty good so far. I know that we're spending a lot of time talking about very much non-Ethereum related stuff, but like I said, I wanted to make an application that you could be really proud about and really show off to other people and say, hey, look, I built this, it looks awesome, and it used Ethereum. So even though it feels like this is very non-Ethereum related content, again, the entire goal here is to make sure you have an awesome final project to show off. And for better or for worse, a large part of making an awesome project does come down to styling. So I think we're doing pretty well here. There is still a couple of things we have to think about. For example, remember we had said that we wanted this button to appear on the right-hand side of the page. So I think we still have a little bit of stuff to think about. Let's take care of that in the next video.